Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome, folks. So, some people had asked for a Bitcoin specific live stream focused just on crypto and Bitcoin and not political stuff that I talk about or personal issues. And I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to go back in this little time machine to when my life was a lot simpler and we can just talk about Bit. So, Bit being back above $100,000 a coin, I think is obviously a big deal. And you think about how the Biden administration, the Biden era people were very against it. And really, the biggest risk to Bitcoin is that governments won't let you use it because most people are spineless. And if they say don't use it, you can get in trouble. The vast majority of people are never going to adopt it. So to see now the opposite of that, to see the president and his family members be so supportive of really one blockchain in particular, Bitcoin, to see this supportive nature, it's really unbelievable. I don't believe it's fully priced in. That doesn't make me one of the Bitcoin to 1 million people necessarily. But let's game it out. Like, why not? Why is Michael Saylor wrong? Let's put it that way. What does Michael Saylor get wrong here? And some of you Bitcoin old timers who followed the YouTube channel here for years, some of you old timers have asked for a tipping address, and I've ignored you. I've ignored your many requests. Sorry about that. You've asked for a tipping address because you don't want to tip over the PayPal link. You want to actually use the thing that we always talk about, which makes sense. So we finally accommodated you. Link in, or Bitcoin address in description. It's been a while since I've said that. It's been a while since I've grifted, right? Bitcoin address in description. And I also put a link to where it is on blockchain.com. I put a link to the data over there so that anybody who's relatively new to Bitcoin or the blockchain can actually click on that link and watch live, watch in real time as tips come in from people on the internet. And this shows you how this really is transformative. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not just a bunch of people who are bag holders trying to get new people in. It's actually a new form of money that does stuff that fiat can't. If one of you guys were to mail me a $50 check, nobody sees that come in, right? Whereas this, it's like, doo $50 worth of Bitcoin came in 2 seconds ago, right? That kind of thing. So you guys can watch that live using that link. A good teachable moment for total neophytes, total newcomers. But again, for the old timers out there with fat wallets, who've asked me for months, I think it's poor spiritual energy on my part to reject gifts. If somebody says, I want to send you money, if it takes me months to get back to you with the Bitcoin address, I think that's my bad on my part. And in a moment, I'm going to crack open a beer to make up for it. Crack open a beer and chat with you guys until I have to head off to my meeting with my banker. Because we're still in this weird world where fiat holds a degree of power for things like buying new homes and buying jets and stuff. You still need a bank, which is unfortunate because I think Bit should be further along. It should be more acceptable now to buy a big ticket item by just scanning the other party's QR code and sending off your Bit, much like people are going to tip after this episode goes up. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Again, if you're an old timer and you really want to send me some huge tip as a thank you, as a token of gratitude for telling you about this a decade ago, go for it. I'm not going to say no. Again, it's bad energy to reject the generosity of others because I don't know what you've been through. I don't know how grateful you are. I don't want to turn away from that gratitude. But again, if you just sort of send like $1 of Bit, this is mainly a teachable moment so that all the people telling me, oh, it's never going to be used. It's just a Ponzi. It's not a Ponzi. It's a new technology like email. And as more of us use it, the more valuable it becomes in terms of usability, if not market value. Yeah, I'm going to crack that beer in a moment. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Wouldn't that be devastating? Do you guys not hear me? Is that the issue? Oh no, we're getting, there we go. We're getting something. After that ramble I just went through, I don't think I'd be able to repeat that. Can we get confirmation in the troll box from somebody that you can hear okay? But yeah, what's also interesting for the Bitcoin for the hobbyists out there. All right, good. You guys can hear me. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Uh, for the Bitcoin hobbyists out there, for the purists, rather, when you send a tip to that Bitcoin address, it's going to a wallet that I just set up on the show's laptop this morning. Set up a wallet here on the show's laptop, physically sitting on this hard drive. Uh, and so, again, it's a good teachable moment because we're not using Coinbase and we're not using, Cash App or something. We're using pure Bitcoin, a decentralized, or sorry, a free open source wallet. I downloaded it in 2 seconds to this laptop, created my wallet locally on the hard drive, no signing into any service, right? Totally local creation of a Bitcoin wallet. Spun up a public address. I post that in the description. You guys sending to me, people can see on blockchain.com. They can see live as the transactions come in. This is what crypto is supposed to be, right? Here, there's no middleman taking their fee from today's little experiment. It's like 100% of that Bitcoin will be sitting on this show's laptop. And then when we do the next audio podcast on Friday with my friend Ram, I'll be able to talk about this, talk about how this is actually the future, not empowering centralized services like Coinbase or even good people like Strike and Jack Mallers. And I've heard only good things about the Fold app, which gives you Bitcoin cash back, I believe, on your credit card purchases, or it gives you Bitcoin in lieu of cash back. Lets you stack that way. So I've heard only great things about those services. Same with River. I've heard only good things. With that said, you should learn how to create your own Bitcoin wallet on your own hard drive, how to back it up on a piece of paper you can give to your wife or your girlfriend or something, and or put it in a coffee can and bury it in your backyard or something. And you should know how to actually use what blockchain is. That's my view, anyways. If you guys just want to click and buy the ETFs on your E-Trade account, you're welcome to do that also. But this is what you're actually buying. Is you're buying the fact that people can do this, that someone can send me $1 of value or $1 million of value, and they don't have to disclose everything about themselves. And yet, the public will be able to see immediately when that money comes in. So it's transparency without overexposure. I think there's something mind blowing about that, right? Because you can see the real amounts for the first time ever. Again, when somebody sends you a check in the mail or if somebody PayPals you the money, the rest of the world doesn't see that. It doesn't get broadcast out for the rest of the world. And why do we want this layer of transparency? Well, because I think humans are weird with money. I think humans are very strange with money. And if you don't have a layer of transparency, you get the crazy corruption that we saw with USAID, right? All the Doge stuff that came out, how they're wiring money overseas to work on transgenic mice, and all this weird gain of function research that was funded in opaque ways. If every single one of those wire transfers had to be posted on a blockchain that any of us could review in real time, they would not be able to get away with it, right? It would be like, why is $1 million going to this clinic overseas? What's it going to, right? So even a small amount of transparency drives down the weirdness that occurs when a handful of people have a lot of money. I'm not dealing with XRP cultists today. You believe in digital currency, at least you're better than a fiat monger. But no, XRP, Ripple, they're tryhards, and I'm happy to see it do well because I know a lot of people who have some, but I've never had an interest in it. I've never intentionally held any, and likely never will. I think Bitcoin's a real crypto. It's a man's crypto right there. It's a free man's crypto, I should say. Whereas XRP, you got Brad Garlinghouse going to the World Economic Forum and begging for his seat at the table. It's pathetic. It's the wrong. It's just everything about Ripple's wrong. This is why I don't want to go into it. Is I'll get in a bad mood. It's just a total perversion of what crypto is supposed to be. But yeah, thank you. Amazing process. Says the sound is great. Good sound, right? Yeah, let's get those numbers up. And again, if you want to participate in this teachable moment, hit that address with a little bit of bit. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot unless you really have been waiting years to send me a tip and you want to for some reason, you're welcome to. But what's fascinating about this experiment, again, is this is all local. We haven't even signed up for like Cash App or something. This is just you literally sending money to this show's hard drive, to this laptop sitting in Florida. From wherever you are in the world, you could be watching in Antarctica. You could be watching on an airplane that has satellite internet. In fact, I'm sure some of you are. Some of you are doing that. Isn't that crazy? And you can beam money to the people creating this content you're enjoying without involving PayPal or, you know, Citibank or any of these entities. But welcome comments and thoughts while I hang out for the next few minutes. Oh, I said I'd crack a beer with you guys. How rude of me. Give me 1 second here. So it is a more elegant form of money than than fiat. And I remember years ago, a guy who still listens to me regularly. I don't know where he first heard of me. It might have been on Coast to Coast AM, this radio show I used to be a guest on pretty often. Uh, it might have been on Coast to Coast, but he's a guy who lives in like upstate New York or New Hampshire or something in the woods. And so he sent us a letter to our show PO box way back in the day, a letter with some little silver coins attached. And he was just like, "Look, I just don't like the banking system, but I wanted to send you a tip for your interest in content." And I was like, "Wow, that's cool. If not for the weight of that, you could actually do that, right? Like more people would do that if not for the cost of sending it based on weight." Uh, but you don't need to send me a bunch of ratty silver coins, taped to your Ted Kaczynski letter. You don't need to do that now because you got Bitcoin. This is a true innovation, again, that you can port a potentially unlimited amount of money at somebody and you don't need to mail it to them. Because obviously, if you were to send a huge amount of coinage to anybody in the US postal system, it would be grabbed at some point. You know, somebody would take it. But cheers. Cheers, everybody. Some of you have congratulated me on the consistency we've shown. That's another reason to tip. It's not that I need the bit. It's not that I need the bit. It's a teachable moment for newcomers to watch how this works. But if you were to tip for the reason of wanting to reward us for now almost a half year of totally consistent content, again, I got this channel back in January. If you include the years where it didn't exist because it was banned or memory hold, this channel has been around for 17 years. It's an institution. This channel is an institution at this point. But since January, when we got that Clear Waters notice from Google that I was welcome to come back here and talk about the topics of interest to me, uh, since January, they've held true to that and they've let us upload videos on a wide range of unfinished topics from years ago. And you guys can go through those videos once we go on a summer break and stop posting new content. You're welcome to go through all those videos. You're also welcome to download them if you have YouTube Premium or YouTube Plus or whatever it's called, where you can download videos. Go for that. You're welcome to download them. You're welcome to repost them anywhere you want. You can post them on your Facebook. You can create a Rumble channel and post them, etc. You're welcome to repost our content anywhere. I just ask that you upload it in full. That if you're going to take, for example, today's show, that you just upload the whole video clip, and that you don't make it like little takes and where you try to make me sound stupid, basically, right? Where it's just me sipping a beer and like whoa whoa, like that's what we don't want. And our lawyers will eventually clip you if that's what you're doing. But if you're in good faith resharing our content, I really encourage that. So. Yeah, so what I'm saying is you could take an excerpt. You could excerpt me, but I don't want people doing cuts purely designed to take my words out of context. And thankfully, the legal system understands intent, right? I'm talking about taking my words out of context and clipping our content to the extent that it would be essentially defamation, right? To take an interesting chat about crypto and then just reduce it to me sipping on beer. Look at this drunk David Seaman. That's the kind of thing that we want to avoid. No, you can't do an AI video of me. That would go against what I'm saying here. Saying you could take our content and republish it. I don't want totally made up content of me saying things that I didn't say. People doing that subject themselves to legal action. Because why would I not protect my basic rights? Why would I let people come up with fake shit? And that's the reason I'm doing these live streams, is these weird engagement farmers on X create these mega threads where it's, did you know about the most deplatformed Joe Rogan guest? And it's just a bunch of little made up factoids about me. And I was like, hey, what is this? No, no worries. No worries. I'm just trying to limit the amount of fakeness in our world. 'Cause it's now 2025. We're living in the distant future, essentially. I don't want to deal with people that are fake and weird. I don't want to deal with processes that are fake and weird or institutions that are fake and weird. It doesn't mean you have to be the most principled and like brilliant person. I just don't want to deal with overt weirdness and overt fakeness. Hope that makes sense. And our culture after COVID, something happened. Some of the people became even more truth focused. Like I would like to think that I'm one of those people, and that many of you are in that category. And then some people, their brains broke. The brain worms took over. The RFK Jr. brain worms got out. Their brains broke, and like nothing has been the same for these people. And they've moved in an almost anti-rational, kind of anti-rational place, where it's not just they're no longer using logic. It's actually whatever is logical is what they're against. You can't even remember the kind of content I used to do. I know it was narrated. Well, it was usually this. It was usually years of talking about crypto and speculating about its future while lightly grifting for tips. It's basically what it is. Best way to contact me. I'll put a link to our contact form in the troll box. There you go. That will reach either me or my producer, Missy, whatever you send through that text box. Yep. But yeah, this is what the show used to be. And maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe it's not Jimmy Fallon. We weren't trying to be for everybody, were we? We weren't trying to be for, your grandma who watches late night TV. That was never my intended demo. And so to go back to the topic of this video, do I think Bit will reach $1 million? I do think it's very likely. It's a matter of when, right? It's a matter of when. I did not take the chimichanga. Somebody's asking me if I was forced to eat the chimichanga during the pandemic, and how many times did I have to eat the chimichanga? I didn't. I said no chimichangas for me, because I had caught it early on. Right, I was living in DC at the time. This is when they were like, "Don't worry about it. Go party in Chinatown," and so I was out at a restaurant or bar in Chinatown, and then a couple days later had this piercing headache and crazy fever, and that was my moment catching it. Luckily, I recovered, had some brain fog starting a couple weeks later, some mild brain damage, I suppose. But the good news is I no longer have brain fog at all. That is, like so many other problems in my life, chosen to pack its bags, pack its bags and head elsewhere. So yeah, I never took it as a result because I figured, hey, I've got immunity to it at this point. What more do I need? I've gone through the process. A little bit of brain damage, probably, but again, I no longer have brain fog. I'm the sharpest I've ever been. And so I don't deal with a lot of bullshit anymore. Like, from a creative and like ultimately pleasurable standpoint, I like to challenge and then dismantle bullshit. I like to just pick it apart piece by piece until there's nothing left. Yeah, it's cool to have this channel back after so many years. I was saying this over the weekend streams, but to recap for people who weren't there, my dad, before he died, was like completely convinced that Trump would be reelected. And I was like, all right, you're entitled to your opinion. You know, this is when Trump was very low in the polls and was basically being branded as a felon every day by the media. And it seemed unlikely that he would get back in there. My dad was completely convinced he would be the next president, and he was right. He was also completely convinced about Bit. He was right there. And he was totally convinced that YouTube would eventually come around and give me my channel back, which was quite a thing to continue to hold on to. I was like, time to move on, old man. You know, time to move on. I'm happy with my life without the fame. I don't need it. And then, sure enough, just months after his death, I get this letter from Google, the Clear Waters notice, as I call it, saying, "Hey, go for it. We're giving your channel back, giving all your stuff back, and you are free to engage the public on the topics of interest to you." Hey, what's up, Paris, France? Welcome. But yeah, we're doing an experiment where people who want to tip can tip using the Bitcoin address below in description. And what's so cool about that, as I explained earlier, is it's a completely local Bitcoin spin up. I created a wallet after downloading free wallet software on Google in like 2 seconds, right? To search for the wallet that I like to use. I downloaded it to this show's laptop, which is recording this show for later. The keys were generated only here on this laptop. No Coinbase involved, no Cash App, no PayPal. And when you send money to that Bitcoin address, it is essentially ending up right here on this hard drive, or at least when I choose to spend it, right? It's this hard drive that's going to be interacting with the blockchain. Mind blowing, right? This is why it's important, is you can actually do this. Let's assume I actually was like an important person and everybody was trying to silence me because I had something real big to say. If that were the case, people could still send me the resources to continue and I wouldn't need a single bank. That's mind blowing, right? Yeah, so you can go into this world where you no longer have to use brick and mortar, like you're saying. You don't have to use brick and mortar institutions at all. I mean, Bitcoin is what, the sixth largest asset in the world right now, fifth or sixth largest asset by market capitalization. What an incredible journey, and many of you guys have been here for it. You guys are working hard in the troll box to get this one banned, huh? Let's move away from the criticism of vaccine theory for a little bit, as we're talking about Bitcoin. You asked me about it, I told you, but it's not algorithmically guaranteed that nobody watches this. Uh, but yeah, so it's been a very exciting journey, and ultimately, this is what excites me: is it gives people freedom. Thankfully, nobody's against me anymore. But if they were, you'd be sending the Bitcoin to a wallet that's backed up on this piece of paper that I just wrote down. It's incredible. It's incredible technology. Satoshi was like the Michelangelo of money. And people who say, "Oh, it's taken such a long time to get here," I don't think 16 years is that long to go from he uploads it, right? He uploads the first version of Bitcoin and tells people to check it out. From that to 16 years later, it's one of BlackRock's top ETFs, right up there with their gold ETF. And the president's family are talking it up. The president of America talking up Bitcoin from inception to today. That's actually not that long for such a revolutionary concept, right? For a money format that is going to erase a lot of the banks, a lot of the local central bank currencies over time, right? If you just do the math, it's going to disintermediate a lot of that stuff. Excuse me. Yeah, Satoshi was the great thinker of our time. Absolute great thinker. Whoever, or whatever it was. And recently, CZ, Sleazy CZ over at Binance, he's been speculating that Satoshi was actually an AI from the future. It shows the guy is a dummy, right? I would not park funds on Binance after hearing that. 'Cause if you followed the history of Bitcoin, it so wasn't Skynet. It so wasn't an AI from the future sending code back to 2009. Like, you know, what weed brownie has that guy been nibbling on? It's so not its path. That's not its origin story. And there's clearly a human out there somewhere who did the bulk of the Bitcoin coding. And there's a human who was responding to people on Bitcoin talk as Satoshi way back when. That wasn't an LLM responding to people. No such thing existed back then by any means. So, but see, the thing is, they can't control the transactions. They can't control it. If somebody out there wants to copy and paste the Bitcoin address that's in the description of this show, if they want to do that and send me Bitcoin, which is backed up on this piece of paper here in Florida, and then later today I can go out and buy a meal with that Bitcoin. John Podesta can't hold your hand down as you're clicking send. John Podesta or Old Soros or whoever it is that I hypothetically offended way back in the day. These folks can't hold your hand down, and it gives you freedom. Now, where's the compromise? Well, that data goes on the blockchain. Someone then sees that you sent me $25 worth of Bitcoin. But it's not just one person that sees it, it's all of us. We all see it, right? So it's just the new paradigm. Is there less privacy? Well, we're all seeing that you sent me money, but we don't see who you are unless you choose to reveal that. So that's a value add, I think, that you can contribute to a cause without the whole world knowing who you are, but we know somebody got money. And that's an improvement because when you do an ACH transfer or when you write somebody a check, nobody actually knows that. Nobody on the internet is actually sitting there analyzing that. And I think opening up financial data to all of us is a huge positive overall. Like, what is it that people are doing that needs such a layer of privacy beyond that? Like, what are you doing that's so secretive that you don't even want the blockchain to show a transfer of value? You know. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for being open to my explanation. Thanks for being open. Most people who are anti-crypto, they won't even hear any of the benefits because they've already made up their minds. You know what I mean? They've watched a certain number of Bill Maher episodes or something. They've already decided, no, it's a Ponzi, no, it's a scam. Once you decide something is a scam, you're not going to touch it. I think that Sam Bankman-Fried era, I think that slob did us no favors. He did us absolutely no favors. Even the support that he put into Solana, I think we'd be better off without Solana to a large extent. I think if it were just a Bitcoin focused world, that would be way better for everybody. It's a more secure blockchain and it's simpler. The rare transfer of value is way more important than people trading Pepe meme coins. Although there's a place for that too. Don't get me wrong, but preppers are completely anti-Bitcoin. Yeah, it's weird. People can't see an outcome where the world is shit, but the internet still exists, and that's the most likely outcome, right? Like obviously the gold bugs win if the internet is somehow turned off and there's no electricity and all civil services and all law somehow dissolve. We get this Mad Max scenario. Then the gold bugs win, right? But I don't see that as a high probability scenario. I see instead like moderate to high inflation, and that crumbles some of these institutions that rely on being able to pay people reliably a certain amount of money for loyalty to the system. The system itself is not going to be able to do that soon. And so I think also the technology in the world is continuing to advance at a very rapid pace from AI to space travel to even things like private jets. It's taken a total, curve uh, closer and closer to this asymptote of like total prosperity, right? So as that happens, Uh, as that happens, it's less and less likely that we end up in a world where you need a satchel of gold coins to get through your day. Even if the internet were to go out, you have like Starlink, it would be restored using Starlink. You could also do local mesh nets, whole bunch of solutions to widespread internet disruption. I mean, the internet from day one was designed to be something you can't turn off. You look into the original DARPA concept of the internet. It was designed so that if there was a nuclear war or something, you couldn't just turn off all communications. So for that reason, even today, the internet's a pretty resilient thing. Yeah, what are they prepping for? We already experienced the worst. I think COVID was the worst in terms of level of breakdown of civilization for a couple of years. Yeah, the 1859 Carrington event. That was when a solar flare hit the Earth. It was so strong it knocked out telegraph stations and stuff. Could happen today, but very low probability. So if you're super concerned about that, not financial advice. I'm not a financial planner. But maybe if you're ultra concerned about that and that's what keeps you up at night in a cold sweat, maybe you put 1% of your money into gold or silver, right? And then if that were to come true, you'd be the king of the hill. And if it doesn't, you still have 99% of your money and you haven't become some prepper weirdo who's putting all of his money into something that's probably not going to happen. Very vocal. I don't know if you guys can hear my dishwasher. Very vocal dishwasher this morning. But rather than a solar flare, I think when AI gets its cajones, when it finally gains its balls, and AI becomes what's known as strong AI or even ASI, right, artificial super intelligence. If we do get to a point where there's a global ASI at some point in the next couple of years, the next 5 years even, it might just choose to hack the grid and take us back to prehistoric times to limit the amount of damage we're supposedly causing to the earth. I'm not convinced we're causing that much damage aside from all the plastic pollution. All the plastic that's floating in the ocean, that's bad news. But beyond that, it's bad news and it's an eyesore. I think we should globally address all the trash that's floating around in the oceans. But beyond that, we're actually not causing that much damage. And we're generating a lot of innovation and change. And the monkeys and the dolphins and shit and the squid and the deep ocean, they mean well, but they're not innovating. They can't name 5 things they've done this week, let's put it that way. They're not innovating in the same way that we are, and I don't think we're necessarily a mistake or a blight on the planet. I think as Terence McKenna thought, we might be the whole point. We might be the second to last step before the singularity and freedom for all of us in some sense. But either way, we might be the next step rather than some parasite that's just gnawing away at the earth. How do you make money off of Bitcoin other than asking for people to give you some? Well, there are a lot of businesses that just accept Bitcoin as a payment method. So there's like a mushroom supplement company that I'm a fan of. Natural mushrooms, not magic mushrooms. There's a supplement company I'm a fan of. At the bottom of their website, it says Visa, Mastercard, Amex, and Bitcoin accepted. And they just generate a QR code for you, and you send them the Bitcoin instead of giving them your credit card number. And then on their end, they receive the Bitcoin and they send you your supplement. So that's how it generates money for people. Is there real people out there and real businesses that are accepting it as a payment method? And then some people have speculated on it. There are people who've thought, oh wow, one Bitcoin, right? Like me, for example, because you asked me how I've made my money from it. So way back when I was bored on my computer and I'd see that the going price for Bitcoin was like 2,000 bucks or even less than that. And I go, I don't know if this thing is allowed to stay and it's capped in an eventual 21 million coins, and no more will exist. And if hundreds of millions of people are using this thing one day, I can see it being worth more than 2,000 bucks. I click buy, right? And then I hold on to it until it reaches 50K or something. And then I choose to sell some for dollars. And when I sell some for dollars, it doesn't mean that I'm rejecting Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that I no longer believe in the project or its goals. It just means I'm de-risking, that I no longer want to have so much of my future tied to a project that, although totally brilliant, is unlike everything else, totally unlike everything else that's come before it. The fact we don't even know who created it. I don't want 100% of my money in something like that. That's just me. Use the dialysis machine to filter out the microplastics from our bodies. Well, that's possible. I think they're gonna have nanotech very soon. Nanotech AI guided, micro robots. They'll just swim through your bloodstream. It'll probably be something like that that cleans us up. Phil says Bitcoin is not expensive. In percentages, Bitcoin will likely 100x in the next 15 to 20 years. The real weird thing about Bitcoin is at every moment in time, when you look at the price, you go, I don't know. Is this worth it at all? So back in the day, when I was buying these $2,000 Bitcoins, all my friends weren't doing the same thing. Most of my viewers weren't also buying at 2,000 because it seemed risky back then. And now at 100 something thousand, it seems risky. And when it's at $500,000, there will be people saying, oh, it's too risky now. I can't put a house worth of value into one Bitcoin. Again, it's unlike anything that's come before it. So people have been really bad at estimating what it is, at estimating its future value. People have been absolutely horrific at that. And it's wiped a lot of people out, actually. We don't talk about this very often. The shorts that have been absolutely ruined by Bitcoin over the years. Some previously confident, wealthy people who are no longer confident and no longer wealthy because they moved against this thing that, again, has no precedent. Bitcoin is way smarter than anything that came before it. Uh, really is an amazing life path too. That I was just some hapless podcaster, actually here in Florida at the time. Full circle, right? So this hapless podcaster in Florida, and someone emailed me and was like, "Why don't you have these Bitcoin guys on?" And so I interviewed Adam. I forget his name, but he's fantastically wealthy now, I'm sure, because he was grifting for Bitcoins years before any of us. Right? He was doing shows about Bitcoin that were literally being listened to by like probably Satoshi, certainly like Hal Finney. So the OGs would listen to this guy's show, and he had a tip address at the bottom of every show. It was very vigilant about reminding you to tip and such. Probably an absolute zillionaire at the moment. More power to him. He had a huge ego even at the time, but he was a great interview. So based on his interview, and then I interviewed Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus. And then I started to really read about it. And I was in the shower one day, again, right here in Florida. I was in the shower and I had this rapturous epiphany, the hot water rushing down my back. This rapturous epiphany where I was like, this is going to be it. If they can't outlaw this, and if nobody can hack it and send it home, nobody can send it back from where it came, this is going to be it. And later that day, I like ran to this CVS nearby, ran to this CVS and wired money to some Bitcoin company up in New York. I got the Bitcoin like later that day. Uh, that's how you had to buy it back then. You had to go to like a bank branch or a CVS and like actually send money off to some, opaque business up in New York or out in San Francisco. And you have to say a few prayers because who knows what you get if you get anything. Yeah, those are the days though, folks. Those are absolutely the days. It's sweat covered runs, the local MoneyGram. When will Litecoin go up? I have no idea. I've been burned by Litecoin too many times. I have absolutely no idea. In fact, I consider Litecoin like a drug. It's one of the bad drugs, right? It's one to avoid. Because Litecoin, you're like, it's so cheap. It's so cheap here. We all know what happens when you think that, right? You buy. I think the problem with Litecoin is there are one or two people out there who just mined an absolute shitload of it back in the day. There are some OGs who don't believe in it at all because they're Bitcoiners. They just have a huge bag of Litecoin. So whenever it breaches a certain point, say $100 or $150, these people come out of the woodwork and they dump on the rest of us. And that's the determination I've made is there are still early miners who hold a lot of Litecoin and don't care about it. They don't covet it. The same way that the Ether people, they think they're holding the next gold. The Bitcoin people, they absolutely think they're holding the next gold. The Litecoin people just want to convert it into Bitcoin. And that's that community's problem. And they'll never admit it. And they're probably going to attack me now, but that's the truth, right? What about Dogecoin? Well, Dogecoin has really thrown the whole altcoin thing on its head, right? It's an absolute shit altcoin with an insane emission schedule, absolutely insane inflationary emission schedule, and yet because it has the cultural backing of the world's richest man, the meme lord who owns the second largest social network on the planet. Because of that, its value has been really something special. So I like Dogecoin actually. I don't own any. I know some people who've made a lot of money from it. It's like the universe trying to mock me. I know some people who've spent all of 5 minutes reading about the blockchain, and they saw the Doge thing, and they're like, "I like dogs. Fuck, I like dogs," and they just put like 10K into it. Now they have more money than I do. It's like that's the universe humbling you, right? It's like I read about finance all day, and I've hung out with some of the world's most elite people. I bought a jet, bought the I probably shouldn't tell you which model it is. People don't fucking try to hack me while I'm in flight. But I bought one of the world's best business jets, and yet the guy who spent 5 minutes reading about crypto and then bought some Doge has more money than I do. That's how life is. You can never think you're too good, you know? The universe will humble the fuck out of you, no matter who you are. Again, kudos to my friends, but it's like my whole life of crypto and gold and silver and other speculative assets that make sense to me. And this fucker put 5 minutes into it, and he's ahead of all of us. Good for him, right? Cheers, you know? All right, so we're coming up on the end of this one. But welcome to final thoughts, final questions and thoughts. And again, tonight I'll check the Bitcoin wallet. I'll see what's come in, and I'll do a video on it tomorrow. Not a live stream. I'll do a video. Again, this is a teachable moment, absolute teachable moment. You don't need Coinbase. You don't need Cash App. You don't need PayPal. You don't need your bank. You don't even need Michael Saylor. This is the whole point. This is what Satoshi built for all of us. This is what he gave us. It's the most powerful people in the world. They say, hey, we decide if you can have these or not. It's our decision. You don't decide. It's up to us. You better be a good little doggy, or else we'll take that away from you. This is real freedom. This is the real thing. Thank you guys. I'm gonna head out. Boom.